All right, guys, welcome to the Mgtow hangout with the gang. Today, we're just going to talk some Mgtow stuff, talk about some various other things, whatever comes to mind. Today's going to be kind of just a laid back hangout. I think it was well needed that we do a fun Mgtow hangout with the group. I noticed it was I think it was something that was well needed, and I think it's a good break from what everybody else is doing. Everybody's got their own separate things going on. We're running a channel, and Traversable's doing his channel, and I thought it would be fun just to kind of get everybody together and talk about some stuff, get together again, and see where everybody is at lately, and catch up. So.
Yeah, I'm Johnny Midnight, of course. I'm the other half of Esoteric Lectures with Element X, and we're hosting this show on Element's channel today because it's more Mgtow minded. If you are coming over from Esoteric Lectures and you're not very familiar with the concept of Mgtow, well, you're going to be after today. We're going to talk about some of the fundamentals of Mgtow, where Mgtow is, where it's going, what is a Mgtow, what isn't a Mgtow, and a whole, cavalcade of topics. So,
okay, thanks. For everybody that doesn't know, I'm Traversable Mgtow, and Joe. You can call me Joe or Trav. Trav, I prefer. And hello, everybody out there.
And that's Traversable's. Is that a ukulele there on the wall?
That is a mini guitar. You know what I do? I buy those, and they make great decorations. And they're kids' guitars, and they're cheap. So instead of buying like a expensive wall decoration, I get a useful decoration that I can use as a ukulele.
Okay. Oh, there you go. You hook that up to like an amplifier, and that'd be perfect.
Yeah, them things are like 24 to 36 bucks, and they make great decorations. I got them hanging all over my house. You can get them in different styles, different brands, different colors.
Do you get them at like Walmart or? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, they sell
Amazon. Yeah, you can buy them off of Amazon. They'll ship them to you for free if you got the Amazon, shipping, and they make great decorations.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it does look really cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool there. I think that'd be awesome if you hook that up to like an amp or something like that.
Oh, yeah. They work. They play fine. And if you have enough of them around your house and you have a bunch of guys over and stuff, and you start drinking some beers or something, eventually they're going to pull them down and start playing them.
Yeah. Just there on the wall, grab them and just start plucking away.
Yeah, and then that's when the fun begins, because we start making up our own songs and stuff, and then it goes a long way.
Do you have a mini banjo laying around?
I bought a banjo a little while ago, and it came from Amazon, and I was gonna do an exercise. I've never played the banjo before, and I was gonna see how Irish I was. If I could just pick it up and play it, then I'm Irish.
That's a test.
Yeah. So the banjo came, and I started tightening down the strings and everything. You know, the short string on the left-hand side?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
That wouldn't tighten. It kept breaking. And and then I sent it back, and I never reordered a new one.
Okay.
Those are actually those are drum heads, like a drum on that, and it vibrates the strings there, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's how you tie a banjo string with a drum head. That's why they're so big, right?
I don't know. I don't know how exactly they actually tune those. I've never actually seen somebody do it.
Right. But that is a drum head for the body, and it's yeah.
So it's got regular tuners on there, but the tuner for that one needs to be a really stiff, hard mechanical tuner. And it's got to have a holding device on it too, because that last string is about half the distance of the regular strings, and it's taut. It's very taut, and it gives it that unique sound.
Yeah. It gives it that like automatic resonance filter to it, so you don't even have to plug that into anything. It's like its own little amplifier.
Right? Yeah. That string acts as like you got two. You just kind of plug that and use that as an open string, and that you got two things going on at once. Then So it's got like a built-in bass on there where you have so it becomes its own orchestra.
Right, yeah, that's got to be a pain in the butt to compress, though. When you mix it down, you record it, and then you have all this like subharmonic activity going on, right? And then you got to just be like, take down that bass, treble's too high, you know.
But I thought it'd be interesting, but I just have to redo that again and reorder a good one. And
you should do that for sure.
Pluck away on a banjo in a video. That's what you got to do.
But try to make it sound gloomy. You know, you can't do that with a banjo. It's always happy.
That's what I was. Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna try to do jazz, sort of gloomy jazz banjo thing, and see if I could incorporate that. Yeah, and see how that.
If you know what you're doing, you could do that. You could make that happen if you know what you're doing. I mean, stringed instruments to me is just like I'm learning the keyboards right now. You know, and I was talking to Ellen about that. Hoping to do soundtrack eventually for esoteric lectures, and intro and outro music and whatever. But that keys to me are pretty easy. I'm really getting the concept of it. Okay. I mean, it's all music theory, no matter what the instrument is. But boy, stringed, I don't know if it's because I can't chew bubble gum and walk at the same time. Oh yeah.
It should be your first instrument. Your first instrument should be like a guitar as a kid, and then you learn how to read the music and notice, the difference between, a 4/4 and a 5/8, and stuff like that, and your up notes and how to bring out your upbeats and stuff like that, and learn the tricky little them segments. But piano. I often notice that people just migrate from the guitar over to the piano. I did myself. I didn't really take no piano lessons. I just kind of sat down and then I went on YouTube and I was like, well, what does a C blues look like? And then they gave me the thing for the C blues. And then I just started going, and then once you do it 3 or 4 times, that music kind of, what you want to do then.
Yeah. What if your first instrument was like the flute?
The flute. Oh, God, I think they kill kids with that, don't they? With the
clarinet,
the recorders.
Recorders, and then they make kids clarinet.
Those recorders are so stupid, man. I had to play those in school. It makes like 2 notes. Like even if you try to change the note, it doesn't even make a difference. It's just like. I learned absolutely nothing in music class in school. When I went to a music class in school and we had to do the recorder thing and everything, I learned absolutely nothing about music. Yeah, you learn how to become dyslexic.
Yeah, they'd still give you an A just as long as you brought your recorder in. Well, ours was called a flutophone. It was a plastic recorder. We couldn't afford the real kind, so we had this horrible. It was like a step above a kazoo. Just like we were like, man, do we have to bring this crap into to school again? And then,
Yeah, what is that? The South Park episode with the recorders and it hit the F note or the F note?
No, what happened?
What was it called when it would make you automatically discharge your pants? And Cartman went around and he changed all the so they're all in front of the White House or something, and then this whole massive recorder thing that they're having, and then they're all going to hit the that certain note that would make everybody in the world shit their pants.
God,
that's brilliant. That's like exactly the kind of prank I'd play.
Yeah, that's the only use for a recorder.
No, they're a good garden decoration. It really is what they are. You stick them in your yard to hold your plants.
It would be really cool if one kid got really good on the recorder and then he did a rock and roll recorder, just
he's drilling and stuff on it. He's like the Eddie Van Halen of the flutophone.
Yeah,
he gets on YouTube and stuff. And just goes viral.
You got hooked up to like an amplifier and he's playing like Sweet Child of Mine.
Yeah, no, there probably is one autistic kid out there that's his only skill in life is he can play the recorder really good.
he gets he gets like recruited by his local Philharmonic, and it's like, come on, bring out the recorder. We're gonna
rob a big recorder off, or it's like a county fair and everybody's lined up like an idiot. Playing with the recorder.
He's like that retarded kid in Deliverance with the banjo.
Yeah.
It's like his only thing he can do really well. Boy, does he do it good. Ding 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 ding. God, you know what? I wish I was. I wish I was like that. I was like retarded, but just completely awesome at just one thing.
Really? Would that be great to just be so dense in life you don't worry about anything else in the life except for
playing the banjo.
One skill, and I do that, and everybody smiles when I do it.
Yeah. It's like Kentucky Fried Chicken. I don't do anything but chicken.
You know what would be funny? Like, you know that heavy metal band called Slipknot with started incorporating recorder troops into the band.
Recorder troops into the band. That'd be cool.
I plug it into an RP1 and just
start playing they start playing what is that song, Duality, on recorders.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, are you feeling better?
Yeah. Once in a while, I just kind of get that little in my.
Now, when you say the flu, you had the flu. Are you talking about that big super flu epidemic thing that is going around, or?
It was a full out, wake up in the middle of the night and you're kind of floating around the house with that dizzy feeling.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Did you hallucinate anything? Is it like, did it get that bad?
No, I wasn't hallucinating, but I was just sweating. It was like cold 1 minute sweating, and then I woke up one night and then Dougie's like staring. He's 2 feet away from me. He's like, "Take me outside." With those evil eyes of him, and then I got to go out. And I got a flu, and then I got to go out into the cold and hook him up to his chain. And I was like, I'm just thinking I'm gonna die.
I mean, like, dogs are more sympathetic than women. This is true, but when it comes to going outside, they just cast all care to the wind. They're like, Trav, you got to take me out now. I don't care if you're dying.
I don't care if you're dying. Yeah. I thought that was the cruelest thing he ever did to me. I was like, oh, thanks a lot. And he woke me up with that evil look. He's got like two dark evil eyes, and he's 2 feet away from my face. I thought I was hallucinating there for a minute because he had his big bone in his mouth. It was like that was his.
You just see this animal walking down your hallway, black eyes, and it's just coming at you with a giant bone. It's just about to urinate in your corner. Like, that's the punishment.
Yeah, and you're hallucinating O Fortuna in the background.
Yeah. I thought, oh God, am I in hell?
Oh God, it's like, that's how bad it is that you actually wake up and you're like, I'm in hell.
And they start speaking Latin.
Yeah.
Welcome to hell. And the dog is urinating in your corner forever.
Dominus!
Yeah, the flu's bad, man. That's always a horrible thing to go through. Yeah, they're talking about the flu, this really bad flu going around for, I don't know when it started. It was sometime like a couple weeks ago, I think.
Yeah. About a month
ago. Yeah. So people, I heard it was pretty bad this year.
Yeah, actually, a gal at my company, her little boy died from it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was just not even 2 years old, and he passed away. And I was like, oh my God, and she came into work and stuff, and she was just breaking down right there and at her cube, and I was like, damn, I don't really know what to tell you. What can you?
Yeah, isn't that uncomfortable? Because what can you say?
Yeah.
I can't bring them back.
You can't give them chocolates either, because that just makes the problem worse. They'll get sick to diabetes, and then it's the problem worse.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I just wow. I was in the break room, and I'm like, hey, how are you doing? And that's about all I do with my female coworkers in terms of engagement, just so I don't look like the creepy guy who won't speak to anyone, right? But so she's like, oh, you know, not so well. My oldest died of the flu this weekend. I'm like, what?
Oh my God.
What do you say? Yeah.
Yeah. You try to get like like those obscure flowers, like baby's breath.
Yeah. You know, the weird thing is I didn't think I could get another flu in my life because I've had the avian flu and I've had the swine flu.
Oh, no shit.
You know, I went through the era in 72 and 74 and 76 where the major flus came through, and I had them all. And I thought I was going to die those times, but yeah, it's like really surprised me. It didn't feel like a regular flu. It was like more like a designer flu or something. This one felt like someone had like created it.
Looks like we have Lazarus in the chat. Hey, man, what's going on?
How's my sound?
Sound looks good.
Sound great.
And we got Shining. Shining, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Shining.
There we go.
Greetings, brothers. How's my sound?
Sounds good.
Peace, gentlemen. Did I miss anything?
Oh, no, we're just talking about the deadly flu and how not to give people baby's breath flowers for it.
And here's me thinking I was too early as well, so I went away for a few minutes. Coming back and hear you all there.
Yeah, here we are. We're just doing a Mgtow hangout today. You know, we're definitely going to talk about some topics here, and if you guys feel like you want to bring up anything that you want to talk about, you're more than welcome to. I'm just doing like a kind of a laid-back hangout because I think that you know, it's good to get everybody you know, together again. I think you know, we're all off doing our own things, living our lives, and you know, just trying to, you know, better ourselves really. And so I felt like it was a good idea to kind of get everybody back together again and see how everybody's been and you know, how life's doing.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Well, there's a lot to talk about. You know, there's a lot of things to say. We've got many words for those who have ears to listen. But yeah, I just noticed that Mayor Mgtow's back. I saw some of your comments on there. Mgtow came and did a nice video. So saw some of the Messenger. Have you changed your phone number? I've been messaging you on your phone, but I'm getting a no reply signal.
Oh yeah, my phone is offline. I needed a SIM card and they sent the wrong size, and yeah, it's just been something I haven't followed up. I actually got used to not having a phone. That's what it is, and yeah,
that's what I like to hear.
Nice.
You know, it is nice. You know, we forget sometimes that we can be so attached to our phone that it controls us. We're at its every beck and call, and sometimes we do have to do what the phone tells us to do.
Yeah, I did ring you. I left a message actually on your. I rang on my landline, but it must have been busy.
Yeah, well, so sorry, I cut you off, Johnny. You was about to say something.
Oh, I was just going to ask Element, are we going to re-upload this on Esoteric Collections?
Yeah, we probably will.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think that would be an interesting change of pace for the channel. And it would be fun to definitely have all of you guys featured on the channel. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So we'll definitely upload it there.
Yeah, sure, because, I mean, we do have a population that is actually not within the Mgtow sphere. And they hopefully will listen to this podcast and get interested in it and check you guys out. I don't think we have any female subscribers. I mean, we might have a couple of lurkers, but I think it's pretty much just the boys. So, you
know, I never heard that term before. Staying Free used it, lurkers, and now I hear it everywhere.
Well, he invented it.
Culture.
He started it.
Yeah, he's a
trendsetter.
He is a trendsetter. I think he's a lot more popular than people realize. Even the people that don't like him copy him.
He is what he is, man. They broke the mold on that dude. There's no doubt about it. So,
yeah. So well, Shining,
anyway,
just a moment.
Just quickly,
Yeah.
for those of you that are missing the old staying free, the old MA Fight Club type of stuff, there's no need to fear, because JB Gunner, aka Mgtow Mindframes, under the tutelage of and the apprenticeship of MA, and Jamie Purple Pill, having graduated from the SFM Fight Club Institute of Hard Ass, and now offering consistent Fight Club content under the SFM MA model. That's right. Hear those Fight Club students turn masters, vet cooks, take out fakers, and verbally kick ass online. I'm saying that because I heard them. Did you see them give Eli a good roasting? It was
No, what
hilarious.
happened?
No, you have to watch it. Eli came on, and every single sentence he got insulted. It was. I thought sorry for Eli. It was funny anyway. Yeah, please go on.
So, Messenger, how you been? How are things?
Yeah, just busy, too busy, in fact. You know, when you try and set up this life to keep yourself busy and focus on goals and that, you've really got to get the balance right. So it's of late, it's just been overwhelming. So I sort of exhausted myself. I think Joe's been ill as well. And yeah, I got a bit of that. I had a week out, and then I couldn't study because I fucked my eyes up. So I had to turn all the brightness down on the screens. I couldn't read for too long and stuff like that. And I sort of overdid the solitary life, you know, and I forgot to relax and rest and take time out. So yeah, but it's all good. I mean, it's all positive. It's all working towards, you know, betterment.
Yeah,
I myself.
Don't we overdo that a lot? We tend to do that as men, and it's a problem I do, because I was doing the same thing, and then I got the flu. I started a new C++ class and all that, and going through the new computer stuff that I have to learn sooner or later in my life. And I was doing the Mgtow content and doing a lot of it, and then doing, you know, what I do here in the real world and everything. And then all of a sudden I'm sick. It's like,
Messenger, have you tried wearing sunglasses? I mean, no, just because your eyes get sensitive. It's called photosensitive.
Yeah, I just had a vision of 1980s Tom Cruise then, you know.
I was about to say aviators.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it gotta be Ray-Bans.
Yeah, wear sunglasses for 24 hours. Trust me, your eyes will feel better.
I do that in the dark. I just do that because it's cool.
So, have you taken up C++? Respect.
Yeah. I started. It's a comprehensive course. It kind of starts with the A+, and it starts with SQL, and then it works down to the C++. So it gives you everything. It's an introductory course for old guys like me.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's good to learn SQL just because you can manage databases and backend.
That's what I was thinking.
You know, so even if you don't really get down to the nitty gritty of C++, it's a monster. You know, you still have that kind of database management skill, which could come in really useful, especially like with websites, YouTubing, anything that you want to do with it to make some sort of interactive forum. You know, it'd be really great, man, if any of us, you especially, could take that kind of knowledge and create sort of like reboot the old Mgtow HQ forum. Because right now that's gone totally dark. You can't get into it. Jaeger won't let you in. But if you could get like a monk forum, man, that would be so spectacular.
Are we talking C++, the computer language here? COBOL plus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Trav, the computer programmer. What more can you say? Then you go on to HTML2 and then next thing you know, you'll be on 100K a year.
Yeah. So I did want to kind of follow up on that idea of the original Mgtow, the tenets of the original Mgtow and everything, and what it used to be and everything, and start that Mgtow HQ thing going again, where
like when Nacho had it.
Yeah, with Nacho, where we were talking about men, we were talking about, and we didn't worry about feminism. We didn't worry about what was going on in the rest of the world. It was about our problems and about what we needed to do to be better men in this world.
I tell you what, that's definitely one thing that I've kind of noticed. when I first started into Mgtow, man, gosh, how long has it been? It's been a while. I mean, when I remember my first video, and I remember what it was like when I first got introduced to, you know, most of you guys here in the beginning. It was Trav actually that, you know, started. He was doing his, and still are doing the hangouts that everybody was on, and I saw that. And I said, wow, you know, this is a group of people here that I really want to associate myself with, because I was so starved of, you know, good intellectual conversation, you know, because, you know, most people, I think that, and this is the beauty of the internet, most people don't have that ability in real life to discuss these issues. And, you know, that's one downside of, you know, the side effects of this world. I think that most people, unfortunately, just don't have those outlets to communicate those problems. And the big side effect of that, you know, is that most people feel alienated. And that can drive a lot, especially men, crazy, because, you know, men have the ability to intellectualize. And I mean, how many guys was it that came up with, you know, all of these very complex discussions about psychology, discussions about philosophy that was built up inside their heads that they had worked on, you know, probably in a lot of alienation.
Well, yeah, they came up with it in a vacuum, and they had to, you know, fill it with air. You know?
Yeah, it's just amazing where it's come, you know, with everything, and but going back to, you know, Mgtow, I think it's, I mean, I don't know if I can actually give an accurate description of where we're at in the process, you know, with everything. So many things have happened, and I guess things change so frequently in many different aspects, and you know, I don't know where to start with it, really. I mean, there's a lot of positives and there's also some negatives, but I think overall, you know, the fact that we can meet here and discuss, and the fact that we're all still here and we haven't died or something, you know,
right?
That's good, you know, and it's definitely, you know, good to, you know.
Well, I tell you what, like in terms of the future of Mgtow, at least in the near future, it's not going to go anywhere. As a matter of fact, I think the ranks are going to swell, especially when you have like Mgtow, and then you have like Stop the Pig, or what do they call out the pig in France, and now they have in Germany the 120 decibel movement, where German women have body alarms that emit
You're
this.
kidding.
Yeah, oh, and
They actually have
me on a date. Golden Himmel, I'm strapped on the Neubauten. Ah! And
they actually have alarms that they
They
wear.
have body alarms that they carry.
Oh my
that
gosh!
That emit a 120 decibel screech.
Do you know what it is? I was thinking about this earlier. Do you know what it is? It's because we refuse to be chivalrous now, because they want equality.
Mm-hmm.
They want, you know, they want to be equal to men, but they want respect from men. Yet they want to act like pigs. So they're sort of saying, well, you will respect us and you will be chivalrous. You know, you can't touch us. You have to respect the female, even though we act like pigs. You know,
yeah,
like
we can't touch them, but they're very free to smack us on the nose, right?
exactly. But if we don't respect them, you know, if we don't watch what we say or watch where we put our hands, because it could be perceived to be a molestation of the female, we'll be punished by the law, or we'll lose our job, you know, or we'll be character assassinated. It's forced chivalry. You know, you will respect us even if we're not respectable anymore. And even more reason to avoid them. I just avoid them. I don't speak to them. You know, I have minimal contact with women, and people say, oh, you're bitter, you're affected, you know, you can still engage with women. Why? What's the benefit of it? Just to prove that I'm not bitter? That's like being a male feminist. That's the same as wearing that "this is what a feminist looks like" t-shirt, just to show everyone that you're not a misogynist. I don't give a fuck what women think about me. I don't give a fuck what men think about me, to be honest. And I'm certainly not going to put on a facade just to show everyone that I don't hate women. I don't hate women. I just don't acknowledge them. There's just nothing there anymore in females. They're dangerous, but on the flip side of that, they're just irrelevant. And they've made themselves so irrelevant and so useless to the male that, I don't know, they just don't deserve any time, or
I think what you guys are alluding to is first of all, Element. You're trying to point to the purpose, the original purpose of Mgtow. Messenger then points to the reasons and the circumstances which brought about the very need for Mgtow. Also, it would be unfair not to mention the current state of Mgtow, or the label, or the situation we're in now. I think at the risk of making this conversation serious or too deep, I think that those three are very, very deep and complicated issues. That those things three are mentioned. So, any uptakers? Four of you want to take any of those on?
Well, I do actually. You know what Messenger was alluding to there, and what Johnny said as well. You know, it's ridiculous because, you know, it's ridiculous in the sense of what these people are now forcing us to do. On one end, you know, they play both sides of the coin. They go, you know, we're not going to allow you guys to do this or that. You know, you can't, you know, don't even look at us or else you're going to jail. And I always hark back to 1984 because that sounds very 1984 Orwellian, where they had this dynamic of which, you know, they separate the sexes for that purpose. But then again, if you don't, when they want you to, then that's also a crime. It is control, like it's sickening amount of control, really. And what Johnny was saying there in France, I mean, I didn't know that they actually had alarms, but that is really
Germany. Yeah, that's
Germany.
Yeah, you could get these 120 decibel body alarms in Germany too. They sell them really cheap or whatever and they probably hand them out for free too, like on college campuses and whatnot for women to have. Yeah.
I've seen them. The equality part of it. The equality part of it doesn't seem quite equal when you look at this thing in reality. It's like having a worker on a job and say you both making the same pay and you're going to lay some bricks and then okay, and this goes to the effeminated part of Mgtow that we see effeminated males and women. So you're expected to lay so many bricks, and then you find out, though, she's only going to lay half the bricks because she doesn't have the physical strength to do it. And now we see with this thing with men out there is you're going to get a worker that's going to be making the same amount of you as you in this situation. This is a hypothetical situation that he may be an effeminated boy. He may be one of these boys that were raised by single baby mamas or something like that, and he's not able to do the job either. So you're making $18 an hour. She's making $18 an hour. You're doing half the work and they're doing half the work.
Yeah. Well, I guess the benefit to that is they go deaf once they hit the alarm.
You know, I think there's real things that people notice in the real world that we don't have this true equality for females because they can't do these kind of jobs. And with the present state with Shiny was bleeding into there with the present state of the effeminated, emasculated boy nowadays, and what we see about the condition of Mgtow, and what this huge job that we have to do in masculinity. There's a lot of problems there, and there's a lot of threads with that.
You know, when you look at the psychology behind a lot of what's going on, you know, with what Messenger said, it's putting a choke collar on humanity is what it's doing.
Yeah, it is.
You know, that's not good because anything that leads to that is going to be serious repercussions because, you know, once you incorporate technology into that, once you begin to incorporate, you know, the legal control system into how far you're able to have liberties, then you're in some serious hot water. And what's going on right now in Germany and France is the testing bed, I believe, for a much bigger problem that, you know, in a lot of ways, I think the United States is primed. It's just a matter of when they begin to implement that stuff. You know, who knows? But
you know what I was thinking about today with that?
What's that?
Yeah, and it seems to be an obscure subject. Trump's going to have he's going to put out this $1.25 trillion infrastructure project nowadays. Who are you going to get to do that work?
You know, exactly.
That's a very good question.
We got boys that want to, you know, they don't have the skills to do it now. We have women that think they can do it and they can't do it. But here's what happens, and I think Lazarus because he works in a building the same as I do. When you start doing bid splitting and that stuff, what's going to happen when that money starts flowing down to where it should flow is to get men back on their feet, to start businesses, to get the infrastructure flowing, to get things fixed. What's going to happen is they're going to start chipping away at that money. And half of it's going to go to female engineers because they're going to split the bid on that. Some of it's going to go over here to entitlement projects. Some of it's going to go over here to other projects and everything. And the real workers like me, you, and the guys that are on the ground there, we're going to get a minimal amount of money from that. And that's where this gynocentrism thing takes us in society. So
in our field, like in the construction fields. Mm-hmm. You have to justify your income,
right?
You know, you have to build. If you don't build, or like Joe says, you know, lay a certain amount of bricks a day, you don't cover your wages, because a brick or a meter of bricks, or however you price your jobs, is worth a certain amount of money. So you have to lay so many meters of brickwork, so many square meters of brickwork to justify your wage, and then some to cover your subcontractor, your boss, the company overheads. And you get new men coming in, and they're what we call improvers in England, or trainees, or they don't cover their wages, and they have to get fast, and they have to get neat.
Yes, yeah.
Right, yeah, and they do have to get
or they're
neat.
gone.
Yeah, do not create scrap, because if you did X number of yards of good work and then X number of yards of scrap, well, that cancels out the good work you did.
That's it. There's a deficit, and then you become a liability. But what I know what Joe's saying, you've got these women
deficits start building.
Yeah, and the women are liabilities. They become the deficit. They don't generate any profits for the company. They're just there, the affirmative action. They're there to make up the female quota, and the whole business.
We see these all the time nowadays. You had a $35 million project. The building was supposed to be built, or the road work, or whatever was supposed to be worked on, was supposed to go on 35. You start adding in these little chips. These people chipping off the female engineers that you don't need. These equipment people that you don't need, just because it's some kind of job that they had to give because they brought up some quota that they had or something. Now a $35 million job, they go back to the city guy goes, hey, we're running over. Now it's a $45 million job. And then everybody goes, why? Well, these are the reasons why.
Let's look at the insanity of this fucking world, though, and how people believe lies. Because I've had women, I'm sure we've all had women in the past saying, I can do that. I can change an oil filter. I can,
Sorry,
you feel like saying to them, come outside to my fucking car, because I can guarantee you've never changed a tire. You change those fucking tires. You change a spare wheel. You take that one off. You show me how to use a wheel brace when them nuts are fucking seized solid. You show me all the tricks that we know as men. They can't. They just can't. And it becomes so ludicrous that women say things. We can do what men do.
Right. They try to hide those costs in the job too. We also the typical hidden cost was the female flag waver. Well, she's making $18 an hour, and then none of that work's getting done to wave that flag. We see this. The last job I did, I often give the example is when they split the bid on that, and we were supposed to put this big furnace on the rooftop and everything, and we laid the furnace and everything. The female engineering accounting business got 1/3 of the bid, and then I was expected to justify all my cost at 2/3, when I would usually get like 90 or 80% and have an engineering check over the work. And that's all gone because now you have to, and it was working way down to half split bids now and stuff.
Well, you know what that represents is very much of a communistic system, because what they do is they make you work for nothing, and then you work yourself to death. Your body breaks down, your joints wear out.
Yeah.
You know, you get injured, you know, and then you can't work anymore. But you know, it's almost like a mini version of sweatshop labor.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
they get people to work themselves to death for years and years and years, and then by the time you get done, your joints are worn out, your back's thrown out, and you just barely, and then you have to, you know, basically live off of nothing just to make it by for the rest of your life.
Right. Your wages are getting very low, and that's why I don't take these anymore, because I have to hire a rigger too, and you know how it's like the cost of a rigger.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I got to take all the expense, and I'm not getting any of the profits now as a man, and that's the gynocentric system working against me. Just because
I know of 3 men who died in their mid-50s. You know, they just one dropped dead of a massive heart attack, and he had so much stress running a groundwork gang, tarmacking airport runways and stuff like that. He drank a lot because of all the stress he had, and he dropped dead. They said he was dead before he hit the ground. He was 53. Another man died of septicemia, a grave digger, from a cut on his hand from work, and blood poisoning, and his vital organs shut down. He was dead mid-50s. You know, they just drop like flies on site, you know, at work. And it's not a joke. And I say to the young lads at work, I was talking to Element about this, it's like, let's all compete to see who can be the best slave. And I say to the young lads at work, I've been doing this for 25 years, you know. I'm not going to do silly things and try and carry twice as much and do things that aren't safe just to impress you so I win your fucking favor. Because I could have 10 years of this left. I don't want to be in construction for another 10 years. I want to be out of it.
Right.
You know, I'm not, you know, if you think it's big and clever to, you know, show off at work and do dangerous things just to impress the boss, then, you know, you could end up another statistic. You know, you could be dead.
Yeah.
Well, that really is the dynamic there, isn't it? That you have a bunch of people trying to compete themselves to be the top slave. I mean, it's if you think about it, you have a group of people in a cornfield or something picking the corn, and one person is trying to pick the corn faster as their fingertips bleed, just so that they can go and show themselves to say, hey, you're a great slave. We're going to make you work that much harder because you seem to work really hard. So we're going to actually make you pick even 2 fields instead of 1. And you're going to get paid maybe 2 cents more. I mean, that's the dynamic.
Element, that's exactly why I got out of that fucking rat race life. That, you know, I don't want to be a hoople. And that's exactly what the end result of it's going to be. And you may get a raise and you may get, you know, your kibbles of a couple of thousand more a year for jumping through those hoops. But really, what does it net you?
Yeah. The upward mobility in those jobs is lost anymore too. Those jobs, like I say, will generally go to a gynocentric engineer's position and stuff. You're not moving up in these jobs. So what you're doing is you're going to waste the first 30, 20 years of your youth. You're going to hit that point where you can't do this work no more, and there's no more upward mobility in the job.
Yeah, you've hit your terminus.
Yeah, and then what do you do then? Well, you're like me. You have to start losing. You have to start going back to school. You have to do something else, but you're cheated out of what you deserve too in your seniority in those positions, and and everybody, the community, gets cheated out of your knowledge, what you bring to building a building or whatever you do. You're no longer around, so all that knowledge is lost because I can no longer lay bricks on my back like a slave.
You know what's really disturbing about that is that I remember one time, this was a long time ago, I think when I was like a young kid, I was at the gas station, and there was a car that pulled up beside of me, and there was this woman, a young girl, probably in her early teenage years. Her dad goes, "Why don't you go pump the gas in the car? I'm going to go get something." And so I'm sitting there and pumping the gas in my dad's car, and she goes, "I don't know how to." I don't. She. What happened was the guy comes back, the father, I guess, comes back and goes, "How do you know how to use that credit card?" Because "Oh, my mom showed me." But she didn't know how to pump the gas. She didn't know how to pump the gasoline into the car, but she knew how to use the credit card.
Yeah, bet she did.
And the other disturbing thing about it was that I remember I was looking up some video about tires or something like that for my car, thinking about replacing the tires on it. And they actually have people that make videos about how to check the air pressure in your tires and how to fill up a car with air pressure at the gas station. I mean, people don't know how to do that. I mean, that's sad. I mean, that's really disturbing, because if people don't know how to do something simple like that,
that's a great analogy.
You know, how in the world do you expect to take on the more complex facets of life? These people will be put to the side, because you know, I don't know where these people go or what they do, you know, but the fact that that kind of society that we live in is existing, that you actually have that is a big side effect. That's a big Geiger counter to where we're at in the psychology and the minds of people.
You can apply that analogy to the world we live in and the work situation. Now we got a bunch of kids that know how to use the credit card but don't know how to pump the gas. And you know, that when you look at it in a job situation or becoming the boss, yeah, it's easy to use the credit card and tell other people what to do, but you have no idea how the complexity of building a house or you know, building a building or adding to your society, making parts and stuff like that. We got a lot of people that just there seems to be two segments. It's becoming a system of classism. There's people that know how to use the credit card but never figured out how to pump the gas, and that's a shame.
So Shining, what do you think about, you know, that kind of thing? Do you see a lot of that over there in where you're at?
I think in general terms, what you guys are talking about is a collapse in society. With the male disposability on the increase, with I don't know if you guys have seen, I don't know if you've seen it, Messenger, there's been a couple of DWP reports and university research papers that have come out that is saying that the bottom is falling out of the male workforce. That not only now do we get some idiot, some TFL, he made this video. This guy is beginning to annoy me now. He made this video saying there's too many men. This TFLer, he says there's too many men, that's why there's male disposability. But listen, in the UK, we have designated areas where there is literally 99.9% women only. Entire neighborhoods, they call them man deserts. It's a Western phenomena. Only in the West where you get man deserts. And now the Department for Work and Pensions, their think tanks, university research papers, these are done by students, a PhD trying to get a doctorate in whatever, that they do research, and the bottom is falling out of the male workforce. Now, last year, you guys, well, you guys that watch my channel, I mean, I had endless videos talking about friends of mine and places and places that I used to work to, where the male workforce was reduced tenfold. So I remember, I don't know if you guys remember, I used to visiting my friends at their workplace. When they started in 2013, there was like 15 men. There was about 30 women. Now there's two in that office. There's 2 men and there's 50 women in that same office where I work now. I've had to change jobs a few times. I'm the only man, except for the boss. I'm the only man in that place. I don't know if I can stay there. I don't know if I can stand that place. But the bottom is falling out. Now, this male disposability, I don't know if you guys have mentioned this while I was out there, but the guyness, this is why Mgtow came about. This is why the MRA are so frustrated. This is why the very reason why men are walking away to the point where they're resisting their sexual instinct. Men are throwing themselves into this effort to kill off their sexual instincts. That's one of the strongest male instincts there is the sexual desire, and men are willingly wanting to kill this off because things are so bad. That this gynocentric, misandric matrix that it has completely drowned us. I don't think people see how severe and serious it is. You know, this issue of male disposability. I know, Messenger, you just mentioned a few of your friends are dying off there, but it's completely drowned us. It's incorporated everything and everyone under and into its control.
Well, Shiny, it's going to get worse, and I think it's going to be actually the dawning of a new age where our core intellect, our core instincts are going to be changed. And Element and I have spoken about this before on our esoteric channel, lectures channel, that we are going to be experiencing a new form of, dare I say, consciousness, where we won't know anything else but the gynocentric and the worship of the female. We may even be referring to the concept of a quote unquote God as her. And man, I hope I die before that.
Well, you know what it comes down to is that, you know, that and what Messenger was saying was that, you know, there is no, it is, and what you said, Shiny, just to back you up there, is that there is no point anymore to go down this road. It's common sense to us, but, you know, obviously to the people listening and whatnot, that it has gotten so bad that there has, and what you were saying there, Shining, about the job that you were talking about there, it's become a hierarchy of putting the female on a pedestal and putting the male as the slave class, which it's always been, but now it's really beginning to solidify itself. And
I don't mind it. Just going to say, Element, you know, I don't mind it if we separate ourselves from this pedestalization of females and let those men who can't live without females do that bit. We're actually better off. You know, would we have ever thought about living a solitary life and just focusing on ourselves otherwise? This has created a great opportunity for us. I mean, there's very few of us who sort of live the life, you know, walk the walk. There's a lot of people talking about it, but we're actually doing these things in real life, and we're educating ourselves. We're being the best we can possibly be. We're focusing on self-improvement, and we're not living for other people. We're not sacrificing ourselves anymore. And this is one of the good things that's come out of this.
Well, Messenger, I mean, you're not talking about ostracization. You're not talking about hating or anything like that. You're actually embracing common sense. And I hope a lot of men have it. I really do. I think men will be pushed to such a limit in the very, very near future as to where they have to embrace common sense, or the consequences would be grievous. And we're just ahead of the curve. That's all.
Well, in keeping with that, maybe Messenger, you might want to take this one on. Shingles, he's desperately wanting this answered. He says, "Why do I still crave female attention, stroke validation?"
Yeah, he was talking about that.
What can I do? And I was going to address this. I can't type in the chat because my account has been banned, so I can't chat. But I am reading your. I was going to address that. But you want to take that on? Messenger. Shingle says he still craves female attention, validation. He thought he was over it. What can he do to go beyond these emotions?
It's difficult. It's really difficult because I always say this and I always repeat myself, but we've got the harsh lessons under our belt. We can visualize the potential consequences of what happens when it goes wrong, and we can really do the cost benefit analysis. We can say, I don't want to go back to that place I was at when it went wrong. We've got that. We've got those emotional memories there. We can feel how it felt, and you're lucky if you fucking got through it. You know, and you know, I'll talk about my old friend. He didn't get through it. He lost his house. You know, he didn't see his child. He drunk loads. He snorted a load of cocaine, and the next thing you know, he fucking hung himself. It's that desperate.
Oh my God.
It's that traumatic for a man when he. It's like Joe says, you know. Joe said in his last podcast with Values, you know, he didn't do anything wrong. He did everything he was supposed to do. You know, it's like, what's wrong with me being like this, being the man I've been programmed to do by nature and nurture? You know, I'm just being a man. Why do I have to suffer so much when it goes wrong? And the fact of the matter is, we've got to accept that. We've got to accept the fact that you can't be a man naturally, and you can't be a man the way we've been conditioned to be men,
Right.
because the risks are too great and they're real. It's not something we're making up. It's not something we're exaggerating about. Why do you want women? You're just biologically programmed, unfortunately, and your biological programming is something which doesn't serve you anymore, because society doesn't allow us to be men, natural men, as we were biologically programmed to be. And the way they've conditioned us to be as men, either, that doesn't work. Nature doesn't work for us. Nurture doesn't work for us. The only way we can survive and flourish and thrive in this world is to cast off natural conditioning and social conditioning. All of it. Reject it. Undo all those programs, delete them all, rip out all the wires, make new connections. And I mean make new connections. It takes years to sever those connections which have been in place since birth and before birth. You know, all of the education, all of the religion, all of the traditional and family values that were there waiting for you to be born. And as soon as you took your first breath, they started instilling that shit in you. All of those connections were made in your brain, physical, biological connections. You've got to sever all of that shit. And you've got to reprogram yourself.
What you're really alluding to there, Messenger, is the freeing of the soul. You know, that, you know, when you truly try to achieve freedom from this world, you're really trying to liberate your soul, because your soul is, you know, we kind of talk about this on the Esoteric Lectures channel, but to sum it up simply, your soul is basically a prisoner here, in a sense, because your flesh is working against you. That's breaking down. The world you live in is constantly under complete control. You're a slave here. You're in a catch-22. And
you know what? I'm going to add to that element. The nurture that we're talking about, such as institutions of marriage and institutions of even family, okay? And a lot of traditionalists listening to this are going to hate that, hearing what I'm about to say, but these are constructs that have been built and instantiated for us. And I'm telling you what, the source material from it is not good. It is a trap.
The problem with what you said, Messenger, is a lot of one of the factors that your discipline relies upon is the negative experience or the tragedy of your experience and those emotions and that bad experience you had that you carry with you, that assists and that fuels your discipline and your desire to have this life without women. Now, the thing about Shingles is he hasn't gone through what me, you, Trav, many men have gone through. We've seen the true hideous face of female nature, but yeah, sorry.
That's why my videos, and I was thinking about this, I'm glad you raised that point, because I was going to address that. My videos were so graphic, and people always said, oh, I can hear it in your voice. It's because I'm not fucking making it up. And you know, I think the failure of the Mgtow message is the fact that a lot of men aren't speaking. The ones that speak the loudest, the ones that make the most noise, haven't got anything to say. You know, what qualifies them to speak on these issues? You know, the vast majority of Mgtow men haven't been through the meat grinder. They haven't had kids. They haven't been separated from their kids. They haven't been homeless. You know, they haven't been in prison. They don't work a manual job and take all those risks. They've never been divorced. You know, it's like we can draw on that, fine, and we can get that message across and try. When I speak in my videos, my old videos, I try to make people feel that pain because they can't feel it themselves because they haven't experienced it. So I tell them how bad it is, and then you get accused of being bitter and, oh, you're angry and all of these things. And injustice is something you can't let go of. You know, there's studies to back this up. You know, like Seligman has done studies on happiness and all of that sort of stuff, what your baseline level of happiness is, and then he just falls short when he says, oh, but if you've suffered an injustice, it stays with you.
Yeah.
So, right, we've suffered an injustice. It's staying with us. That's why we can look back and it's like it happened this morning. But what I'm trying to say to the young men is, you got two choices. You can listen and believe what we say, and you can try and visualize and feel what it would feel like, you know, rather than being this addict that looks for a short-term fix and can't see beyond that. You need to think about the consequences of your actions, the long-term consequences of where you could potentially end up, and think, is it worth it? So you can believe what we say, because we came here sincerely to spread that message, not for money, not for subs, not for popularity, not for validation from men or women. We came here to tell men what it's like on the fucking front line. And we came and we didn't have to fucking share those experiences, because that in itself was, you know, not pleasant to go back to that place. But we did it. Now we did it. Here's the point. We did it. So you young men don't fucking have to do it. You've got two choices. Believe us, or fucking go and do it yourself and find out the hard way. And I tell you now, if you come back alive, I'll be very surprised, because it takes a special man to find the resilience to come back from that trauma and grow as a person without turning to alcohol, drugs, any other form of self-harm,
homelessness,
suicide, homelessness. You just give up. You run out of energy. It takes so much energy to rebuild your life once it's been destroyed. And you're 5 years older, 10 years older, financially ruined again. You know, I just try and tell young men that this thing that they're fascinated with, obsessed with, is so dangerous. Quite possibly the most dangerous thing you will ever come across in your life. And it's called a female. And most of these men speaking, most of these big channels, you know, the empty vessels making the most noise, they haven't got a fucking clue what female nature is at its worst, because they've never seen it.
Was that shocking for you when you first realized that, you know, back in the day when we were, you know, as much as 10 years ago, we reached out to the young men and we were going, oh, we noticed in Mgtow at that point there was men between 32 and maybe 40, and all of us had these shared experiences. And we thought, well, we can reach out to the young men, the 18, 19, 20-year-old men, and share our experience, and they'll just get it. And then we did that, and then we realized that they weren't going to just get it.
You know what, Joe? Trav, I once posted that my three main Mgtow goals are: don't go to prison, do not commit suicide, don't be homeless. And somebody in the comments section said, well, shit, Johnny, that should be pretty easy. Fuck you. Fuck you. You know how easy that is for any of those three consequences to happen to a man?
Right.
Now, in the coming 8 years, just asking a woman out on a date, that could, any of those three could happen to you with these new laws being promulgated. Fuck you. And I'll tell you what, Shingles, you're my bro. You're my bro from the old sod. My best advice is don't engage. You've already made it at such a young age. Enjoy that. Invest in that.
Yeah.
Do not put a woman into it, because you know what? She could take that away in a second, and the courts will be more than happy to help her.
Yeah, it's an actual joy to me watching it. When I go around Mgtow and I see the guys are out they're having fun. They're not worried about those things. But on this other side, I see that they introduce the risk to it. They bring the girls around, and then they start saying, "Oh, well, it's okay, you know, in a certain sense, and this is okay, and I'm going to take a little bit of that risk." And I go, "Oh, wait a second, that's a little risky," and then they'll lash out at you about that.
Well, you know what it really is you're playing with the devil's wife when you do with these women. That's what you're doing. You know, you are messing with something that, you know, is really something that most people just can't understand. They're not, you know, and this goes back to what Messenger was saying, that, you know, this was something also that John and I were talking about off air at some point, that there are certain kinds of people in this world that are just not going to get it. You know, you got people that are mature enough to understand the information. They're mature enough to get that, you know, what was that quote that goes, it's the mark of a wise man to learn from another's mistakes, but it's a mark of a fool to do it anyway. You know, that sums that up, you know, and there's a lot of fools out there. And there's a lot of people that want to play with fire. And when you play with fire, you're going to get burned.
Lazarus, is there a real need for another segment of the Manosphere now, you think?
Well, not wishing to repeat ourselves for the rest of our lives, because that's what it's been. Let's face it. You know, you look back over your old videos and people say, "Oh, make another video," and you're like, "Why don't you watch the last fucking 10 I've done?" Because I've just been saying, you know, I don't know. Men have got to realize, just this point, men have got to realize, fuck this, don't get married message. Women don't want to get married anyway. They don't need to get married to fuck you over. When she's got that child is a hostage. Right. That child is a shield, and that child is a weapon, and you can't fucking touch her because she holds the child up, you know, and she will hurt you like you would never fucking believe with that child. And these men say, "Oh, I just leave the country, you know, fuck that. I just fuck off. You can't sever that bond. You can't. You know, it's not, and that is stupidity coming from people like TFM, and as you know, the way he words his comments as if he knows, as if he's giving advice, and it's cringeworthy, because I think you're telling men to leave the country. You're saying to them, if you have a kid, you know, to avoid legal consequences, leave the country. You know, in England, the CSA, they can confiscate passports. They can take your driving license away. They can do all these things to stop you leaving the jurisdiction. You know, you need to understand the legal consequences of what you're saying. You need to understand the legal implications of you becoming a father when the authorities get involved. You know,
what is the CSA?
The Child Support Agency.
Oh, okay. Wow, that sounds very well.
Oh boy.
The American CSA reaches out in every country in the world almost. There is no place to run and hide.
You're flying to Switzerland, debt slave? I don't think so. Yeah.
That's Orwellian.
You get a phone call from them. I've had several phone calls from them, and thankfully, something in England called CMEC said if you make a mutual agreement with the mother of the child, then that's encouraged. You know, but when they ring you up, you know, I was standing at work, my phone rang, I said hello, and they said, this is the CSA. I said, yeah, well, you know, what do you want? And the way they fucking spoke to me, you know, you need to provide for your child. It's a legal requirement that you provide for your child. I said, who the fuck are you telling me, you know, who are you to tell me that I don't provide for my child? You know, we can take this, we can take that. I said, stop right there. My child's got everything she needs, you know, and if you start garnishing my wages, I won't be able to give those things to my child because you've taken them from me. assuming that I'm not going to provide. Yes, the men who run away and don't provide for their kids, chase them. You know, get money off of them. You know, they're the deadbeats. They're the real deadbeats. But when you've got men who are taking care of their responsibilities, and they've paid thousands of pounds and spent years just trying to be a dad to their own kids, you know, when you ring them up and threaten them and say, we're going to take money off of you because you're an unfit dad and your kid is starving to death, and you think, fuck you. But these people do speak to you like that, and they are out there.
But messenger, man, that's exactly what they want you to do. They want you to play by the rules, and they want you to play by a set of rules that is destined to fail. It has been pre-programmed. They know it, and they prey on people, normal men, who would say, well, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, right? Well, what you're supposed to do ain't enough. And when you do more than what you're supposed to do, that ain't enough.
That ain't nothing enough.
Picking it up a notch.
You know what that is?
Just very quickly, a friend of mine had his license taken away, his driving license taken away, because he got behind with child support. He was a taxi driver.
Jesus.
Yeah, so he had to sign on and claim benefits. So he couldn't even pay the child support. They took away his means of earning a living. That's what we're up against. And once you get caught up in that system, once that first phone call happens and you get letters through the door and the state intervenes in your life and starts dictating to you what you can and can't do with your own child, you can't leave the country, TFM. You can't leave the fucking country, my friend. It doesn't happen like that. You don't know what you're talking about. That's the problem with Mgtow. The amount of misinformation and assumptions that are being made by men who don't know. They don't know the laws. You know, they haven't been there. They haven't got the experience. They haven't got the knowledge. And that's the problem with Mgtow. You know, men have got a false sense of security. And, you know, we've been around for a while. We've tried to tell men we've got fucking character assassinated. We've got ridiculed. We've been called cucks. You know, we're saying, oh, your wife got fucked by Tyrone and shit like that. And you think, where's this shit coming from? I've never been married, you dickhead. I just had a child. I got a woman pregnant by doing the things that you're all doing. Sleeping around. Pump and dump. I'm the man, you know. No, you're not. Not when she turns around and says, I'm pregnant. Because then you don't hold the fucking aces anymore. She does. And the state will fucking ruin you. If you try and go up against the state, you won't win.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the main thing there. It's, you know, it's Orwellian what they're doing, because that's exactly what 1984 was talking about. They control the reproduction. You know, this is the thing that goes back to what Shining was saying, and I think Shingle's comment, that they use the sex drive as a destructive weapon, and it can be used as a destructive weapon. Well, especially the way they're doing it, you know, because they know the psychology behind what drives the main principles of the psychology of most people: food, shelter, and reproduction.
Right.
When you get those three concepts controlled, people will do anything. Sex is a drug like you can't even believe. They show it in the advertisements.
Yeah. Did you see this?
You know, Shining has suffered the ultimate fucking injustice. You know, I was lucky. You know, I still have contact with my child, but Shining doesn't. You know, and men have got to realise, you know, I can't comprehend how you deal with that. I can't comprehend, and you say you've accepted it, and I'm glad you have, but I don't think I could be as strong as you. You know, I think that would have destroyed me.
Yeah, it's not only me. I mean, when I started telling everyone, other guys started coming forward. So my wife did the same thing. She says I raped her. She said I sexually abused the kids, and she did it just out of nowhere. There was no previous reports. I've got no criminal convictions. I'm not a sex offender. I'm not known to the police for anything. All of a sudden, as soon as a custody case comes up, this woman, this loving woman who you fed, you've clothed, you've housed, you basically financed. So some of these guys who for 15, 20 years, all of a sudden says, "Oh, he's a violent rapist. He's a pedophile. He commits incest. This man who all his friends know, who all his family know, as a decent, well characterized man." And all of a sudden now he's an absolute monster, the worst sexual violent murderer in the world.
And they're surrounded by other like-minded women who've got a vendetta against men, who encourage her to do it so they can get a little bit of sadistic pleasure out of seeing her. They're also instrumental in it. And men need to wake up, because Mgtow and this red pill thing is just about scratching the surface of female psychology. When a woman switches on you, she destroys fucking everything, and you don't even know that person. I was with my ex for 7 years before my daughter was born, and we did all the things a couple does: lived together, went on holidays, all that sort of shit. My daughter was born, she became a different person, a completely different fucking person. And of the most miserable existence I've ever had, I didn't know her anymore.
Right.
That's the reality of it. You know it, Joe.
Yeah, it's like almost like someone switched people in there. There was I hear the lie, like you picked that woman, like I picked a bad woman or something from the beginning, and I knew that. No, I picked the most quality one I could find and thought that I believed in this lie. But when all this happens, it's like another person standing in front of you. That's not the person. I often thought in my head is like, who is this person?
They destroy everything, and it's relentless, and it's like such a power trip for them.
What
do you do?
That's so psychopathic.
Just quickly, I have to add this. It's not just women. Men, manginas, white knight pieces of shit are adding to this false social fallacy. Are adding to this lie, this social fallacy of runaway fathers, deadbeat dads. It's bullshit. I was just listening to a podcast yesterday, and these guys were talking. There was this man. He hadn't seen his father for years. His father just one day disappeared. Of course, he grew up with his mother. What's his mother going to tell him? Oh, I chased him away. I abused him. I verbally, mentally castrated him for 10 years. So she's not going to say that. She's not going to tell you what's what. She's going to say he didn't care about you. He used to touch you up in the bath, but you were too young to remember. He used to beat me. That's what she'd be telling him. This fallacy of runaway. Let me tell you about my experience. The last 3 times I went to see my kids, there was no court order on me not to see them. I'd go down. This was before the case went to court. I used to go down. The grandmother called the police when I turned up. For no reason, I knock on the door. I'm waiting there 5 minutes, 10 minutes. The police turn up. The police say, you tell them, I'm here to see my kids are all right. Guys, you have to understand, I've traveled 250 miles to see them. I'm up in West Yorkshire. They're down in London. I've traveled 250 miles to see if my kids are okay. The police say, if you don't leave this place, you're going to spend the night in a jail cell for disturbing the peace.
Yeah.
But this happened 2 or 3 times. Now, one time I did manage to get her to open the door. She opened the door. This was after the court cleared me of any sexual abuse, of any domestic violence. This was 2 years later. 2 years later, I hadn't seen the kids. I thought, I'll give it a go. So I knock on the door. She opens the door. She says, "You've abandoned the kids. You don't deserve to see them." She turns up with her boyfriend. It's the same cunt she used to take the piss out of. She had like a stint of work. She had like 1 month where she worked, and there was this guy she used to work with, and she used to take the piss out of him, somewhat rotten. And now she's fucking him. This is a situation. This is going out to all the single mother kids out there. You grew up with a single mother. More than often than not, she's lied to your entire life. And I am surprised. Mgtow men claiming to be red-pilled, men claiming to be MRA, are still falling for this bullshit.
Right.
Let me tell you something. Men do not abandon their kids. Men love their children. You know, it's only now that you get men coming up, and I won't mention their names. They're coming along, and they said I had to emotionally detach myself from the kids because it was too painful. We've heard these men come on here. That's what happens. Your father loves you. Your father didn't abandon you. He was cut away because of the system, this gynocentric, misandric system, this bullshit of runaway fathers, deadbeat dads. It has to die here because it's a lie. You've been lied to. We've been lied to.
I remember that video, Don't Call Me a Father. I mean, he had to emotionally cut that off because that was so painful to be called something he could never be, something that he knows that if he tried to be, that it was, I am Bale, don't call me a father. I'm not a father. The government's the father.
Yeah, it's painful. You know, I can't walk past the school. I can't walk past the shops I used to take my kids to, the playgrounds I used to take my kids to. When I walk down the shopping aisle and I walk past the toys, you relive it almost every day.
Right. Yeah.
I can understand why these men. I wouldn't do it. I don't think you should. I don't think it's a good thing I don't think it's a good thing for a man to cut away this compassion he has for his kids, because I think that's something that's good. That's a good part of man. But yeah, I can understand why they do it.
That's the one thing there, you know, and we have so much trauma built up inside of us due to these, you know, people's various experiences. You know, the world is so it's a trauma minefield, you know. Every day, you know, I go on, and I don't do it very much often anymore, but I do it to stay in touch. But I go on, you know, the news channels just to see what, you know, the consensus of the sheeple are listening to. And they interject almost it's every day now. You'll be scanning, you know, trying to see something, you know, what articles are new. And then they'll just show a guy, you know, a person throwing a kitten into a fucking lake. And then it's like, why did you put that there? You know, what is the purpose of needing to share that with the world? And why do you put a video of that up there, not to mention? Because it traumatizes people. And the way you get control over people is through fear and trauma. You make someone see something that is so traumatizing, it shakes, and you can't get it out of your head. And so, you know, what's happening here is that this is a war. This is a war zone. I mean, when you look at what's happened to the men with the children, when you look at what's happened with society and all of the various traumas and the wars, and this is a war. This whole place is a soft war. It has all the characteristics of one. And, you know, going back to what you said there, Shining, about what you're describing with your experiences when you walk past that toy store and whatnot. You know, but when I begin to see is this dynamic at play on a higher level of thinking, this is a battle for souls. It really is, because you have the state that's controlling the aspect that you can't have, you know, what's the right word for it? They won't let you have responsibility for what your child is, you know, what you have brought into this world. They're trying to battle out who gets to keep souls here. I mean, it's insane, because otherwise, what would be the purpose of doing that? And I know, and it has to be much more of a purpose other than just for the state to control. You know, this is a spiritual thing here as well, and they know it too, and they know that it cuts you deep because it's part of you being taken away from you. It's that constant splitting and dividing of people's minds all the time. And when you split and divide minds, it's bad.
And they control the children as well. That's a totalitarian regime right there. Control the children.
Right.
Control the children. You know, they're getting in the schools. They're telling us what we can and can't fucking do with our children. You know, you can't take your children out of schools during term time, otherwise you get a fine in the UK. You can't take your child on holiday when they should be at school. If you object to anything that they're being taught at school, you know, you can suffer legal consequences. And it's like, well, who's raising my child then? Who's raising the children? Not necessarily my child. Who's raising the next generation? Because it's not the parents.
Yeah, and then I
Is
have
the
my
school
child.
system.
I have your children to worry about too. You know, one of the cruelest things I've ever seen in here done in Mgtow is the immaturity of Mgtow. And there's two videos, kinds of videos that I wanted to kind of point out. Is the guys that they come in here and they put up the videos of single baby mama throws the child in a lake and stuff like that, or she does awful things to the child. Hey, I wish these guys would remember I'm that father that hasn't seen their child in 2 years and is sitting there worrying about my child and what horrors are being done to it right now.
You know, that's demonic. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
When you start seeing stuff like that, that's demonic.
That's demonic.
That is demonic activity. I don't care what anybody says. Because
now, the other video I wanted to point out was the one that I seen the other day of that cartoon of we all seen it. It was a very popular cartoon just about 3-4 days ago about a divorce rape. Did you guys watch that one?
I haven't seen that. What is that about?
It was about the guy. He come home and his wife was with Tyrone and Chad and everything, and then the police take him to jail, and all these things are true. And then she makes a false accusation, and then the next thing, I thought this was a very lighthearted overtone of what really what happens in here in a real man's life. And it was funny, and it was witty, and it was done so lightly, and it danced around certain subjects. And but in real life, people get married, they have children, and then there's children attached, and then the father gets his child taken away from him, and they use that as a tool against him, and he doesn't get to see that child. And he's often sitting here with a gun against his head, wondering, where are my children today? Who's in the house? Is Tyrone and Chad in the house right now? Is who's torturing? And I'm one of those guys that got that call, that awful call. Your wife's in jail. Your son's down with us. Please pick him up. I have to rearrange my whole life, get an apartment in 2 days, get this furnished, get food in that apartment. 3 days later, 4 days later, child services is at my door, checking the beds and making sure there's food in those things, because somebody kidnapped my child while they were under the care of my wife and everything. And there was a real Tyrone, a real evil person that kidnapped my child and tied him to a chair for almost a month, and had him tied to a chair. And those horrors became real to me at that moment. And I had to work with this child for years after he had to go through that horror of the system that was supposed to be taking care of him, that so failed him, while on the other end, I'm 5 counties away, 3 counties away. And every time I go to visit my child, she's like, you can pay to see him.
The truth is, women, mothers, abuse their children. As of today, official figures, as I've witnessed, as many files will testify to, as more and more news reports are coming out of, women, mothers abuse their children far more than fathers, than men do. And I know how they've gotten away with it. The political system, the legal system, the social system, the education system, how they've all now got behind this gynocentric matrix to enforce this male disposability and this evil fallacy of evil fathers, of runaway deadbeat fathers. I know how they've done it, and I see it. I see supposedly red pill Mgtow manosphere men doing it as well. What they do is they take, for example, we all know within a huge population, for example, amongst 1 million men, say, if you take 1 million men from any demographic, you're going to have some evil assholes in there. You're going to have some evil assholes, right? You're going to have some demon examples of men. Amongst 1 million men, you're going to have something like at least 1,000. At least 1,000 will be irretrievable. Will be, there's nothing left for these guys except prison for the rest of their lives or execution. Right. Now, what the mainstream media has done, what society done, what the politicians have done, they've taken these 1,000 men amongst 1 million, and they said these 1,000 men represent all men. These 1,000 fathers represent 1 million fathers, and everybody believes them because they sensationalize the stories and the horrors that these men have done. And now these 1,000 men now represent the new legislation that needs to be imposed on all men. And guys, listen, guys, everyone listening, you are all falling for it. Yes, when they talk about you know, Jewish or Jewish or Muslims or black crime or whatever, they tell you about a small amount of people, small, and it's generally men, and you think all those men are like that.
Right.
So it's constant this
this
false
lighthearted,
fantasy.
this lighthearted look at this stuff too is like in that thing that I was pointing out. You know, the Chad, he's not a fake person. He's not a cartoon in a thing that is harmless. In real life, when your ex or somebody brings one of those guys in a house, he can be a drug dealer, a murderer, a rapist that can harm your child, and that has more access to your child than you as a father have.
And you know what? The mother knows it. She knows what this guy's personality is made of. She knows what he's capable of, but she doesn't give a care.
She doesn't give a shit.
There's an unrealistic scenario here, and it's being perpetrated. It's just entrenched in Mgtow. This, you're a cuck, someone's going to fuck your wife.
Yeah.
Drop the wife shit. Most kids are born out of wedlock.
Right.
Marriage is irrelevant. It's not the biggest problem.
Marriage is not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is after you have those children, and you as a father are bound to those children by genetics.
But it doesn't happen in a marital home the majority of the time. These children are born out of wedlock. These children are born to promiscuous women, and you know, up to 30% of the time, you know, she doesn't even know who the fucking dad is. You know, it's like they're building this picture. These funny cartoons that are coming out are building this picture of man, woman, married in a house. You know, then Chad and Tyrone turn up and all this bollocks.
Right.
Kids are born before marriage, before people cohabitate. I've got to get it through to men. I don't think they understand basic
horrors of this stuff. The horrors of this stuff. One of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life was a father that was separated from his son. Down here we have a river, and this river takes a few kids a year. And the night before I was playing, I tell this story a lot. I was playing at a club, and there was the whore that was dancing, and she was dancing out, and I'm playing guitar. We're doing this and everything. This very next day, I'm driving down the street, and the police are there, and they're pulling a body of the kid out that was unsupervised that night. That same girl that was dancing in front of me 5 hours before that, and the father was on the sidewalk on his knees crying.
Well, you know, that's you know,
and he never even had a chance to take care of that kid that night because she had so put him out of his life, and he was not able to come and save his child that night.
Baby, you see, that's the thing there. That's the very thing there. That's what Johnny and I felt that we should make a point to make, which is that this is beyond this kind of activity here that we see, just like what Traversable said. This is beyond just corruption. This is demonic.
It is a part of a base nature. It's part of an intrinsic psyche of a woman, and go on, Element.
Well, no, I mean, it's just that it's when I begin to dive deeper into these, you know, I really like learning about psychology because of all trying to figure out about how the mind works so that I can understand how people work, so that I can understand how the world works. But what I ended up discovering was that what I ended up finding out was that there's also this spiritual component to all of this that's going on too. And it's that what we see here is a huge dynamic of this activity becoming more and more rampant, more and more violent, mainly. You know, there's always been these violent events, but this stuff that I'm starting to see now is getting a lot worse, and it's getting more obvious, and it's getting a lot more violent. And you know, I go back to what Messenger said, that it's not only a totalitarian regime, but it's a complete and total psyche and spiritual control system. And it's just really, you know, what it comes down to is it's just how the world is. That's just the baseline of what this place is. And if you don't know how to move and operate through it, then you're going to suffer these unfortunate events that most people have to go through. And, you know, it is a war for your soul. You know, it's a battle for, can you liberate yourself out of this place? Because this place ain't going to be getting any better. It's going to continue to get what it's going to be. It's going to get worse in a lot of cases.
If I may, I'd like to answer Shingle's question using a different perspective, something which I was trying to do, because I've noticed that no matter how much you demonize women, no matter how much examples you give, no matter how many men tell their horror stories, it won't make a difference to a certain number of men, particularly the youths, because they've been brought up in this gynocentric matrix, and it's ingrained that women are holy, women are blessed, women are sacred, that women are beyond that. I would like to put it the way that in my last video that I did, my last monologue that I did, and that's, let's just say you find a woman, you find a good woman. Most of everyone listening now, we live in the West. We're either in Australia, Canada, Europe, or America. Everyone listening now, that's where we're from. No one's listening to from any other society or culture.
I live in Greenland. I'm just kidding.
Let's just pretend you find a woman, Shingles, or whoever is thinking about it, and you settle down, you have children, and you grow old, and you lay low. You basically serve the house father. You work. You do all that stuff. You play the dutiful father, husband your entire life. Let's just say you do that, and let's face it, in this society, that's what you have to do. That's what you basically have to capitulate to all her needs, to society's expectations of you. Let's just say you do that. Now, you have to put yourself in those. If you really thought about this, if you're sincere about going that direction of life, you have to think it all the way through. At some point, if you're living that life, you're gonna have to rein back on your goals, rein back on your dreams. Now your goals, now all your dreams are now all invested in this family. Are you ever gonna honestly say to yourself, you've become the man that you wanted to be? No. Let's face it, this way of life, this format of living, you're becoming the man that this woman wants you to be. And let's face it, this is the entire point. Society is based around now. This is the meaning of gynocentrism. The woman is in charge. I don't think anyone disputes that. If you become a father in the West, you are under this woman. You are under this woman. Let's not lie about that. Let's not cover that over or gloss it over. You are going to have to become what that woman wants. You're never going to follow your dreams. You're never going to fulfill whatever potential you had. And let's face it, and I was just going to say that probably the better men to answer Shingle's question is people like Element, or guys that haven't been through the tragedies that we've been through. Messenger, just one last thing. Once you said that men have to go through it to be able to live this celibate life. I would disagree with that. I think men have
exceptions. Element is a prime example of the exceptional man who gets it and doesn't have to go through it.
There are
Tesla.
ways we can.
Tesla. We always bring up Tesla. He never had any children. He was never taken to court. He was never in any dark breakup. And look at him. He's now a hero.
Well, look, Shingles. I mean, Tesla was an engineer just like you. I mean, you're right on the path to being that guy. Just keep going.
Yeah. There are ways you can circumvent this too. There's other ways to think about this, like Lazarus was saying. Thinking about that sex and marriage are two different things. Thinking about children and marriage are you don't get married and everything. You do this for a reason. You build your wealth as you go, and everything. And you look back in maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years, you might have $130,000 sitting in a bank. You still don't want to get married at that point, but you may want to have a child. Now you can have surrogacy. You have other options at that point. There's surrogacy, there's adoption and stuff, and where you can really truly be a father then. So
there's a trick we play on ourselves, and this is the root of the mistakes we make. People say you made a bad choice. I mean, you can't predict the future. How can you say someone made a bad choice? You know,
right.
You can't predict if a woman is going to completely change in 7 years' time. How can you make an informed decision 7 years before that? It's not possible. But what goes wrong with us? What goes wrong with men? We go soft in the head. You know, it's like your dick goes hard and your head goes soft. When you see a woman, you imagine this life. You imagine this perfect life, the way it's going to be. Temporarily in your subconscious, you form this fluffy cloud of fucking rainbows and sex, and you know, this beautiful woman who's going to be angelic, and you know, you know, she's going to make your life complete. Yeah, exactly. That's what goes on in a man's head. It's like the cartoon when a load of birds go around his head.
Yeah,
right. You've got when you see a woman go by and you see her cleavage because you know she's put herself on display, and you smell some perfume and you think, oh, if only, and snap the fuck out of it. It's not like that. 7 years down the line, she's going to be fat, she's going to be miserable, she's going to speak to you like shit, she'll have no respect for you. All you'll be is a fucking a walking wallet. Sex will have dried up. You'll probably be sleeping on the couch. If there's kids involved, you know,
Messenger. That's brilliant. And what you're doing is you're thinking 3 steps ahead. I mean, that is the art of war. That's Sun Tzu right there. I think it's a great lesson that people need to apply. Just think 3 steps ahead. And yeah, you could see her 7 years from now where she's just fat, you know, she doesn't shave, she's wearing sweatpants and a tracksuit, or it's just stained with nacho cheese sauce. It's she doesn't care.
Oh god, that's the woman that you wanted back then. A video yesterday about I was reading the comments and how to deplete the sexual drive in a woman. There was 100 comments from guys that what they were saying is, I don't want my wife to be asking me. She's so disgusting and fat now that I can't even imagine myself doing that with her now.
Yeah, you can't like
and they're still stuck in this marriage.
Well, there you go. That's a great technique.
I'll tell you exactly from memory what it's like to be with a woman for years and years. When you fuck that woman, you're not thinking about her. You are racking your brains for memories of other women who you found attractive, just so you can get through it. That's how bad it is.
That's a horrible thing to put yourself through. She's just
a receptacle. That's what she is.
Ethel Merman. Ethel Merman.
There's 50 billion men out there, 500 million men, at least a couple trillion men out there right now going through the painful art of sex right now with something that he just despises.
Oh, yeah. There you go. That's a great technique. Just
girlfriend,
nacho cheese on her face, and then just 500 pounds later. That'll snap you out of it.
Yeah.
You're right,
that's
though.
The reality of it. You know, what are you going to do? Are you going to be in a short-term relationship until you get sick of her and then move on and hope you don't get her pregnant? Or are you going to spend that 6 months or a year improving yourself, putting money away, you know, just building a future for yourself? Yes, you know, that is the choice men have to make. Are you going to
now women are looking at the other end of this. They're looking at the other end of MGTOWs as targets now, because they know there's probably 70% of the MGTOWs that are stacking the cheddar now, and they're looking forward to their retirement and everything. They're looking at those men as targets now. If they can get them back into the blue pill with all that money and everything, they get half of that.
Who can tell me? Just you might know, Joe, something I've seen, and I didn't look into it, but I saw a couple of comments about phone numbers being distributed of women who want to claim that they fucked a Mgtow, and Mgtows are falling for it. What's happening there?
Yeah.
Has anyone else seen that?
Oh, I suppose there's probably, they look at us as targets. Now there's going to be a whole group, a demographic of women out there that's okay, if I can get one of these Mgtows at one night stand and he gets me pregnant. Now, you say he's, running a company, he's doing well, he's got assets and everything. Half those assets are mine now, and I got a kid which I can hold hostage over him. And then you know what you just did? You reversed it, what we have to go through now. The remaining portion of your life will be as a slave.
I can't say for sure. I can't say for sure what's happening, but I did see something along those lines, and it was a very prominent Mgtow channel who was sharing these numbers as if it was some kind of life hack for Mgtows. You can get
a life hack. It's a life trap. It's another trap set there.
Yeah, it's another trap.
Have you guys ever heard the saying, sex was much more than I thought it would be? Have you guys ever heard the saying, oh, this woman was much more than I thought she would be? Have you ever heard that? Said no man ever.
No man ever said that. It was kind of disappointing the first time, wasn't it?
Because we've been indoctrinated, and there is the propaganda. They say sex sells. We've been marketed our entire lives that women are these super sensual, sexual. It's like they'll fulfill your dreams. They'll fulfill your other half of your being. But the fact is, it's a fantasy. And at some point, you young boys need to realize that it's all a fantasy. It's all in your head. In fact, the very system of an orgasm, the very mechanics of an orgasm is all inside your head. I did a video on this. It's chemicals that's released in your head, and that's
at the very best. Some days it'll be the way to pass some time on a Saturday afternoon.
It's your prime material brain that's firing that physical chemical structure off in your head when you have that orgasm. And you know what? The thing is like, for instance, I work at a company that actually has it doesn't have any restrictions against dating coworkers. So on Valentine's Day, International Mgtow Day, I walk. Yeah, you know what's coming. I walk into work and there's this big poster. For $1, you could buy a Valentine's secret admirer card in chocolate for one of your coworkers. I'm like, fuck. I'm going to just go home and call in sick.
I'd rather listen to 4.5 hours of a Hitler speech.
No, but anyway, so I walk into the work. I go into my cubicle. I'm like, oh God, oh God, oh God. Right there is a big card with some chocolate on there. Oh, I'm like, shit, I know this is Baby Lips. I've got this chick named I call Baby Lips who asked me to a country music festival, and it says, oh, hey Johnny, I'm your secret admirer. I'm like, man, shit.
You take it to a banjo barn off.
Oh, stop it. Anyway, I was just like, oh man, I'm looking all over the place like a periscope, thinking, oh God, who is it? And there she is, and she's like smirking at me. I wanted to flip her off so bad.
Put a balaclava on and just
I shot her down already. I told her what I wanted to do with my life and that women weren't included. I didn't say Mgtow, but either way, she's still not giving up. And man, why does my company do that?
All right. Well, let's talk about this first. I mean,
that's the reverse Me Too movement, isn't it?
Well, pretty
that's
much.
Where you're being sexually harassed, but it's okay.
Right. I mean, if I wrote gave Baby Lips chocolate, then what would happen then? Had she not, made it establish the fact that she was interested in me.
Well, Element, you called this the Mgtow hangout with a gang. Trav, I know you've continued to promote the Mgtow label, but I'm sure Element, I'd like to hear from you, and I'm sure Messenger will have something perhaps to say about this, but is there any more value in the Mgtow label?
Yes.
Well,
yes and no. It's a split question. It's on that bar of you know, it's on that bar. Can we fix what's wrong with Mgtow now?
Sure.
You see, the problem I have with that, what you just said, Trav, I don't think there's anything wrong with Mgtow. It's people, it's simps, it's blue pill, it's manginas. They've now co-opted the term Mgtow. There was never anything wrong with Mgtow. And there's nothing wrong with
Mgtow. There's nothing wrong with being a decent, honest person with values and a goal in life and wanting to separate yourself from all the stupid that goes on in the world. There's nothing wrong with that. We're not hurting nobody. But on the other end, when we get associated with the doll fuckers, the anime people, all that garbage that goes on, people associate that with us. And then that's when it becomes like, oh man. And then we start thinking, do we need another Mgtow to start? Do we need to separate ourselves from the Mgtow? And then the world wins when we do that, don't they?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly, Joe. Trav, what's going to happen is you're going to have the doll fuckers and stuff going on there. And then the MSN is going to take that and say like, oh, here's TFM. He likes to fuck. He likes to fuck mannequins, and that's Mgtow. And they're going to define that as the core crux of everything that we are. And number one, oh, you're Mgtow. That means you fuck robots. That's exactly what the common consensus of what we are going to be.
It'll be a stigmatization of Mgtow then. And then that's a real Nazi thing. If you ever read into the stigmas and everything that were placed on people,
sure,
that's when the blue pill world. That's what the blue pill world always does to men. It stigmatizes things. It makes you feel shame for being that, and then it manipulates you in that queuing line where you're going to do what they say by removing the Mgtow tag. By removing that, you become part of the problem then, because you become the worker of iniquity. Then, in your silence, that's what they were saying about the Nazis. In your silence, you were contributing to that.
Well, I think that there's been quite a bit of character assassination.
Right.
That was the very first time I heard of that thing with what Lazarus was saying there about the phone numbers. I've never heard that before, but that's a prime example of blackmail and character assassination. And I think there's been quite a bit of that, obviously, going around. I think that the way to counter that is, number one, birds of a feather flock together.
Right.
If you're going to associate yourself with people that are doing that stuff, then you're going to get caught up into that whirlwind. I don't associate myself with any. I got about 10 people that I would consider good Mgtow friends that I talk to.
Real
and that's it. I don't talk to TFM. I don't talk to Steve Hoka. I don't talk to any of those people, because those people are caught up in black holes of the abyss that if I even remotely come near that, then I'm going to be character assassinated, because those people have their own agendas and they have their own things. So I think that the thing with what Shining was saying there, if you associate yourself with people that are smart and intelligent, and are not able, they're not going to go out there and stick their hand in a beehive, then, I think that that's a good insulator. But I think if you're part of the group of people that like to go out there and be the trendy, popular group of the gang that likes to go over to the TFMs and stuff to try to get noticed because, it's a hidden and happening channel, you're going to rub off and you're going to have transfer evidence of you being caught up into a big problem. So, I just say that,
that was the last message I sent to Lazarus here before he came on. Like the two groups that I noticed, that one we talked about years and years and years ago as being the group Deviant, and now the new group had merged together, and there were this larger, but they were all sharing the same people now. And they were the same group, and and I won't name the names on there, or unless you want me to. Am I allowed to name names on this?
Yes, of course you are.
Oh, the TFM group and the Raging Golden Pedo group are both the same group now, and you can't tell the difference. And that's under the cloak of anonymity. That's what I've been talking about lately. that's what they become. The sociologists, we listen to what sociologists say about anonymity, trolling on the internet and everything, how it breeds deviance. Now, under that same cloak, they're both sitting there being this totally anonymous group. And then what they do is every time they get something thrown at it, they throw it back on us as Mgtows. And they say, well, yeah, we're supposed to all share that shame. But
Well,
no, they're not Mgtow anymore.
You know, Joe, you know from dealing with these, these YouTube channels who have a lot of subscribers, you know that they don't need to provide credible citations or any sort of significant study that's been proven as statistically significant. They don't need to provide any evidence to back up their claims. And TFM made a video full of logical fallacies. He was straw manning, and he was making so many claims without evidence. Yet over 500 people upvoted that video, and
because he's a good orator.
Yeah, exactly. But scientifically, academically, that paper would get fucking thrown out.
Right,
it would, yeah.
Because they would say, this is science. If you want to prove a point, or if you want to back up an argument, a scientific argument, or you want to win a debate, bring facts and bring citations, credible citations, to statistically significant experiments that have been replicated, and proven as fact. Don't just, and this is what was being done. I can see through what TFM's doing. Don't just try and justify your deviancy and use your position to do so, because you've been exposed and now you feel threatened and you're backed into a corner. So you come out swinging, but you're firing blanks. You're not making any credible claims. You've got no evidence. And this is what's happened to Mgtow. TFM was called out. And then what does he do? He projects so hard.
He doubles down.
I'm not like that, I'm not selling child sex dolls anyway. What if I was? And here comes the straw man. You can make a child sex doll with a 3D printer. Right. Why the fuck would you want to make a child sex doll with a 3D printer if you weren't sexually attracted to children?
To children, right.
Right.
And there you go. There's the definition of being a pedophile. You're sexually attracted to children. And here's the main point. What the fuck has that got to do with Mgtow? Why is that in the conversation? Why do people like TFM and RGE, those fucking pedophiles, always derail our conversations when we all profess to be here to help men, talking about men's issues, homelessness, suicide, parental alienation, divorce, the family courts? Why the fuck are they bringing these conversations in and making the whole thing look bad? And here's my point about the Mgtow philosophy. The philosophy is flawed in some respects because of the naive men who've added to it.
Right.
Okay. You can't preach about the dangers of women and relationships and then in the next breath say, but it's okay for a Mgtow to go dating and be in a relationship as long as you don't live with her or get married. That is hypocritical. It doesn't make sense. It's flawed. That's a flawed philosophy. And what men are doing, they're creating a low-bred philosophy. They're not. It's not being refined. It's not being ascended in any way. It's becoming a low-bred because they mixed Mgtow with PUA.
Yeah,
and they made it a less
exactly.
Well, that brings up the question. The first thing that happened when I seen TFM was doing that, and I seen RG years ago when Shining pointed out what that doll was he was showing, I unsubbed to him.
Oh my gosh, I saw that video. The fingers look like pieces of burnt plastic and sausage.
Yeah. I unsubbed to him. So if there's no Mgtows watching, the question for me is, no Mgtow, no real Mgtow is watching these things. He's calling himself a Mgtow. Is he a real Mgtow if no real Mgtows are watching him? And what is real Mgtow now?
Admittedly, I watch his stuff only for video game information and media stuff. Other than that, yeah, when he starts talking about dolls, I'm just like,
I cringe.
Yeah, my spine goes cold. I'm like, dude, you're.
So do we have the right at this point to say he is no longer Mgtow?
I want to
Well,
answer your question, Trav. I want to take that one on because it doesn't look like many people are. You asked the question: does there need to be a subsection of Mgtow? And I
Yes.
think you guys all know what I'm going to say. I know JK, who's been taking his voids, knows what I'm going to say. But anyway, an ideology, a philosophy, a concept which outlines a new way of life. It can never be. And I'm talking from literally decades of experience about this. It can never be about a label, because labels can be co-opted. People can claim to be one thing and in fact they're not. People can claim not to be something when in fact they are. If you guys remember my channel, it was never about those 5 letters. It was never about Mgtow. That's why I kept the name Shining Light. That's why I never tagged the terms Mgtow. I never did. It was never about the term. It was always about the concepts. It was always about the strategy, the plans.
There is a Mgtow litmus test, isn't there? Like,
yeah, there is, Trav. There is, but the problem is you can't say you can't say Mgtow in that the label is the goal. The label isn't the goal. It's the ideas. It's the concepts. It's the philosophy. It is the discussions that we have. So long as we're doing this, it won't. Listen, guys, listen to me. I don't know how many times I've said this. So long as we're talking about the concepts, so long as we're conveying the message and we're telling the information, it does not matter. Listen to me. Listen to me. It doesn't matter who takes the label. It doesn't matter if Mgtow 101 takes it, if TFM takes it, if Hitler number 3 takes it, if PewDiePie, if Jenna Marble takes it. It doesn't matter, because we have the message. The message is still with us. It doesn't matter who takes those 5 letters or when Ibmore came along. We saw how long that lasted.
Yeah.
Because I've seen this. And it's happened before, and you guys know what I'm talking about. It's happened with religion. It's happened with.
You get watered down Christianity. You get watered down, Muslim. You get watered down. All sorts of religions get watered down. We see what happened in the East when the Eastern philosophies became cool in America, and then we had these creepy people walking around trying to be like something they could never be in life.
Like
they just kind of knew they were
Buddhist monks. Yeah.
They were a fake version of a Buddhist monk, and But the thing is,
and one day, and probably soon, the word monk will be demonized. That will be co-opted.
Yeah,
and we saw that came pretty close.
We see this already.
Well,
we see guys calling themselves Mgtow monks, and then you look at them and it's the spaghetti for $1.77.
Yeah, so whatever, guys, it can never be about any label. It's always about the concepts. In fact, some guy, who is it? Excalibur is asking what happened to my dude. Where have you been? But I've got a new channel. I don't probably. I probably won't make much use of it, but I've explained what happened to my channel on that. It's called Man Out of Time. Check that out. I've done 3 excellent videos, as all my videos are. But like I was saying, if you look down through history, how many times has an excellent idea, as an excellent concept and ideology and philosophy been hijacked, and now to be called these things is something horrible. When 1,000, 2,000 years ago, these were the highest caliber of men. To be called these labels, these names, which today are demonized, back 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, these were the highest caliber of men according to history, and it's happening today. The Buddhist religion is supposed to be peaceful, but now what's going on in Burma? The Buddhist army of Burma is slaughtering men, women, and little babies, chopping up tiny little babies, throwing live babies on the bonfire. These are Buddhists.
Well, I
Buddhists.
think, you know, when it comes, I would agree that when it comes down to the terminology and using the label, you know, when you do that, you're basically assimilating yourself into a hive system. You're becoming part of this collective unity thing that isn't, you know, it's part of this hive mind of basically, the only way I can describe it is like a communistic hive system where everybody has to think the exact same way and do the exact same thing. You know, it's like the philosopher Plato didn't go, I am Plato, the philosopher, or the president goes, you know, his name isn't, I am, you know, such and such, the president of, you know, they don't do that. You know, they don't go, you know, the person who's a police officer doesn't go, hi, my name is John Doe, the police officer. You know, they don't put the label of what they do into their name. They just say,
well, when they arrest you, they do announce that they're the police.
Yeah, they do.
You know, labels lead to tribalism. Tribalism leads to misandry. And at some point, I don't know how often or how, for how long I have to propagate this, but at some point we need to drop this tribalism. You know, I am this label, you are that label. It doesn't matter. What matters is,
Shine, the thing is, I think that, you know, I've contemplated this a lot when I started my channel, and I paid close attention to see if people were responding. And you can't really, you know, people, they'll say things to say, oh yeah, you know, this and that, you know, because it's obviously the internet. You can't really meet somebody. Most people, at least in this respect of through distance wise and whatnot, circumstance wise, to get a really good accurate idea of whether or not they're, you know, they're really speaking their message is hard to do. But I will say that if you get them on a hangout, you can tell by the inflection of their voice and the tonality of whether or not they have the experience to back up their points just by the way that they speak, I think. And but I think that there are certain people in this world that will just simply, they're hard-headed. And that's one lesson I had to learn, was that if you know, if you can't tell somebody what the deal is and they're not getting it, then I just don't waste my time with them anymore.
No, you shouldn't. And now here's one question I'm going to drop into the punch bowl. Is idealism bad? Okay. Is Mgtow idealism?
well,
I think Messenger should answer that one.
define idealism first of all. Let the guys know what your perception of idealism is.
Well, a certain set of codes and laws by which you conduct your own life, and which like-minded people whom you associate with under that certain label, this the label in case being Mgtow, do as well. So we don't have a leader. We're not a group. We're not an organization. We have no charter. That's fine. But at the same time, we are. Shut up, Joe. Anyway,
who's taking notes? Is somebody taking the minutes of this hangout?
You know what?
We're an LLC.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I think about the acronym, and I'll tell you what I think about the philosophy and the idealism and the fact that people think they've found some sort of fucking revelation that is flawless. I think men who identify as Mgtow, too many men who identify as Mgtow, are willing to overlook deviancy, seriously flawed male characters, simply because they put the Mgtow label on it. They are scared to call someone out on their fuckery because they identify as a Mgtow, and that is cult behavior. That is collectivism. Right. That is someone fearing being ostracized by the group because they called someone out, another Mgtow. And that, you know, take the fucking Mgtow label off. We can operate as individuals. If we all stand in the same place, waving the same flag, and anyone wants to tar us all with the child doll fuckers brush, then we make it easy for them.
Well, yeah, there's this thing with
but we can spread our message. We can do what we've been doing for years.
That's important to keep doing what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, but we can do it individually.
Yeah.
And that's how it started. A group of men, just a a voice. You don't need to see faces, just a voice on the internet telling you what you need to hear. We don't need to be a group. We don't need to wave a flag. We don't need any of that shit. There's a reason why a 4-man patrol, right? You know this, Joe. There's a reason why a 4-man patrol will not all walk, you know, one behind the other. There's a reason why they distance. There's distance between them, and you tell me why, Joe. You know why.
I know why, because I've experienced it.
Well, that's a great point.
It's easy to shoot all 4 of them if they're fucking standing together in the same place. If you spread out, you know, and perform the same function, you know, but there's distance between all of you, you've got separate targets. If we're gonna keep spreading the message, and the strength in Mgtow is the philosophy, the weakness in Mgtow is the flawed characters that come in.
Right.
You know, and we can't, if we all identify as that, you know, there's more and more men coming in. It's becoming more and more diverse, and not in a good way, not the way we intended anyway.
Not in a way we intended. This whole red pill philosophy thing too, that they want to kind of, it's a Mgtow plus thing on that. The red pill, they believe that they see something that nobody else can see, and that's a mark of a cult too. When this thing becomes cultish in its nature, we got a lot of guys running around with sub 100 IQs that believe they can see things that other people can't, and it's just a narcissism to prop themselves up and everything. And we get this from the MRA, sort of started this red pill kind of philosophy thing, and now the feminists believe that they can see things that other people can't. It's that magic thinking. You know, but these are the things we have to deal with as MGTOW, as sane MGTOW men. One at a time.
I think that's a great point. I think that's the highlight of this hangout so far, is that what you said there, Lazarus, is that you don't spread yourself. You know, you don't bunch up, because obviously in the military, that is, you know, you throw one grenade, the whole squad gets taken out. You know, that's also a form of,
do not centralize.
That's also a form of camouflage too, because they also do that for camouflage reasons, because you know, when it's shape, you know, the 4 or 7 S's of camouflage: shape, sound, silhouettes, movement, and all the rest of them. You know, that's a form of defensive measures that are taken, because when you have a large number of people in one area, it looks like a large thing moving in the forest. But you spread it out, not only is it defensive against getting attacked, but it's also a camouflage affection.
You know what? You know what, though, Element, now that you're talking about it, I really feel that we are in many ways. There's that fucking train. Anyway, but one of the things that I feel that Mgtow is most akin to is the Viet Cong. Not that we're communist, but in our structure. We're so decentralized. We work in cells. We're like a game of whack-a-mole. You get rid of one of us, another group pops up, and we may not get along, and that's fine. But at the same time, if the core concepts are still, we abide by those core concepts, we should be fine. Now, here's the question. What are the core concepts of Mgtow?
Yeah.
Can we talk about that for like 5 minutes?
Let's talk about concepts. Let me just blow the lid.
There you go.
Blow it, Shiny. Blow it down.
Some ridiculousness that we've all witnessed. Now, I can barely bring myself to. I can barely believe it. Do you? I mean, this mantra of, you know, we don't get married, we don't have kids. These were the basic concepts, right? Were these not the basic concepts of Mgtow? Yes or no?
Yeah.
They were. Yeah.
Okay, so how is it now? There's this thing floating about that American men, British men, aren't having enough babies. Mgtow channel saying shit like this.
Alt-righters, yeah. Well, that's when we get corrupted.
So that's my point. So they're holding on to the label, and they've got absolutely no concept of the label. What happened to no marriage, no children? Oh, that's all out of the door now. But I'm still Mgtow.
No, how they've learned that, because they've seen people come in, spreading misinformation, and they've seen it work and become entrenched. and become pervasive, and they think, oh, let me just drop in, let me just poison the well there. Let me just drop in a little bit of misinformation and see if they bite. One person says it, and because it's appealing, they're like, that. All right, well, I'll make a video about it. One video gets made, one comment gets made. The next thing you know, that's part of the philosophy. Let's accept it. You know, and we're saying, where the fuck did this come?
Yeah, it shows real immaturity. We got so corrupted.
But it's like,
you know, what is it, 4, 5, 6 years ago? I never thought I'd see shit like this.
Oh yeah, it's reached comedic proportions beyond any kind of.
When you look at you know, we look at the political scene right now with everything, and we just got through the whole Trump election and everything, we got inundated by these immature alt-righters. And then that was their mantra for a while, you know, just go out there, white guys, and have babies, because we need these white soldiers out there. For some reason, we need more white soldiers out there in this invisible army in their head. And we
need more people to eat corn on the cob, damn it.
Yeah, we get this all the time, but this was done by a real group of people that were trying to push a political process. You know, there were real people that were doing this to Mgtow. And it wasn't just Mgtow, it was a lot of social media and everything. The Russians were pushing fake news and everything. And it's just come out that there were real organizations behind this that were giving out real money to the people that come around on Mgtow. And I think that's where we've seen the Howard Dares pop up. And we've seen these Mgtow 101 maybe taking a little scratch underneath the table to push this all. And they'll never say that they did, but we know they all did. And they pushed a stupid message into Mgtow.
Oh, right.
You know what it is? It's collective hysteria. You know, it's collective hysteria, and
yeah,
that's really what I think it is that people are losing their minds.
Well, we've seen this real immaturity in Mgtow that gravitate towards those stupid messages. You know,
I think it's just the naive men who don't understand the philosophy. I saw it when 101 came in. I've said it before. He didn't understand the philosophy. He was motivated by money and subs, and he absolutely fucking flooded Mgtow and AM as well with so many poor quality videos, which weren't Mgtow, but they were called Mgtow.
Yeah,
and in doing so, he killed the fucking philosophy. You can't find quality content anymore. I really struggle. In fact,
that's why
I don't bother. But I go back 5 years, 4 or 5 years to
listen. What they call quality content is not quality content. It's just an echo chamber of these ideas that they've been pushing. These poor ideas that they can all like clap and applaud and say, "Look, as long as I hear this daily, I still believe it." But if it's ever put against a logical, if it's ever put against logic, it fails and it collapses.
One thing I want to know is, right, people argue in favor of this type of content, and they say, well, they're bringing people in, Sandman's bringing people in, it's entry level. Why the fuck in 5 years has Sandman not elevated himself past that entry level stuff? You know,
exactly.
You've got to progress. You've got to develop your ideas. You can't stay entry level for years. There's no progression there.
You know who is a great Mgtow channel for especially young Mgtows? High school, college, grad school, or when you're just out in the working world. I'm going to endorse this guy right here. Esoteric Lectures is going to endorse this guy. Sunrise Hoodie. That guy is... I've
been watching some of his stuff.
He's got some really empirical things that you can abide by to make your life a lot better as a young man. I wish to God I had him when I was his age.
Right. And
I didn't have YouTube then.
His message is clean and honest and pure, and something that the face of Mgtow could use. That little, it's clean, it's honest, it's pure. It's like our message is. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not doing nothing wrong here. I'm not saying nothing wrong. There's no deviance behind any of these guys in this room. His message is similar to that. And it's a little off here on some of his, and I can expect that I'll see real growth out of him in a few years.
And he's young.
But he's young. But it still is. There's no deviance in it.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, and this is a question I have to everybody here, you know, is that my question is, do you think that people like the TFMs and all the rest of the gang that are involved in that, do you think that A, they're either going to destroy themselves by their own stupidity and actions, or B, do you think that they're just going to keep going simply because the people that funnel and fuel that fire are just going to keep throwing gasoline on it? You know, like, in other words, do you think just because of their own insanity of what they're doing that they'll probably just end up self-destructing? Or do you think that this is a perpetual machine that will keep going?
I think they will keep going and keep it going until they give Mgtow a big black eye if we don't stop them.
I think we used to be worried about being labeled as misogynists, and people were worried about that. That was the worst thing that could happen to us. Maybe get doxxed and someone try and fuck with your life. What they're doing now, we'll see one of them go to prison. Fraud, pedophilia, selling child sex dolls. Someone's going to get a knock on the door soon. Yeah. And their channel is going to be the reason for them suffering the consequences of.
And you know what they're going to do? They're going to.
Every time the media wants to hold Mgtow in a bad light, they're going to hold that up and go, look at this guy.
The whole world is based on black men.
Within the next 2 years, a Mgtow content producer will go to prison. I'll put money on that, because they're really sailing close to the wind now.
That's what I fear.
Scams, fraud, you know, people who've got vendettas against other people. Mayor just put out a video saying, report AM, report him to SEC, you know. What happens then? A full investigation? You know, it's how far is this going to go where men are exploiting other men?
Yeah, and this is dangerous ground here. You know, this is where you have to be real careful. And this is, again, you know, what I was going back to and saying that birds of a feather flock together. If you're going to associate yourself with those kind of people, you're asking for a lot of trouble, because at some point, like you said, you know, they're going to get a knock on the door or something is going to happen. And all of a sudden, before you know it, if your name is in that list of people that they're trying to investigate due to guilty by association reasons,
right,
you're going to get pulled down along with them. And that's not something that you want to do, because in the beginning it was all jokes and fun. And then before you know it, you're being investigated for a possible child sex ring operation going on YouTube.
Or something
I tried to warn CS Mgtow, and everyone says, oh, CS Mgtow did this and that, whatever. I tried to warn CS Mgtow a long time ago that he was getting involved with people who could possibly be investigated. And if his number, because he was in contact with these people privately on his phone, if his number was found in their phone, he could possibly get investigated as well by association. And he laughed at me for over a year, and I was like, listen, you are speaking to the wrong people. You're gonna get yourself in some fucking hot water soon. And didn't he fucking apologize as soon as it all came out? He
apologized. Yeah, I was wondering if you still had it, because I still get claims that somehow we drove CS out of. No, Alex Brown single-handedly took down CS, and CS felt the shame so badly after that. He bowed out, and he sent an apology letter to you.
Yeah. But you know what happens? People invest in this label so heavily. They just lose sight, you know. They go, they've got this blind loyalty to the acronym, and you're saying to them, let's put that to one side for a minute. I'm talking about the real world. There's going to be a police investigation, and you could possibly be part of it. And I'm trying to warn you, and you keep telling me to fuck off and insulting me. That's fine. I can understand that you've got your friends and you're trying to defend people, but I'm trying to save you from something that you could be implicated in. And you know, I don't know. I
No,
don't know.
these new Mgtows coming around, they don't know the full story on that either, and we might as well talk about it now and say it out loud.
Okay.
There is a letter there that we could show you if we want to show you, if we want to further embarrass CS about this thing. And CS is not necessarily a bad guy. I agree with a lot of people that CS wasn't necessarily a bad guy, but he took the wrong route and he backed the wrong people. And that's why he left Mgtow. It wasn't nothing we did. We were just trying to do the same thing we always do. We're trying to save Mgtow from a black eye. Plus, we're trying to save Alex himself. We're not unempathetic for Alex. We're trying to save Alex at the same time. But Alex was beyond being saved.
Yeah. But CS redeemed himself, and he gained my respect back. And, you know, that's all you have to say. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. You know, I wish I hadn't. I've tried to tell him, but, you know, you were right. And it's like, I wasn't trying to be right. I was just trying to tell you what's going on. And, you know, he got my full respect after that. It was two men having a conversation. How the fuck did it go this far? Right.
How the fuck did it go that
You're
far?
okay. I'm okay. You know, have a nice
But
life.
this goes down to what we say a lot: your risk. Assess your risk. Assess the men that you surround yourself with, and make sure they are men of good quality and character.
Yeah, exactly.
And if he would have did that, like we were saying, he would have still been around Mgtow, and we may not have agreed with his message totally 100%, but he would have still been here enjoying our company, and we probably would have been enjoying his videos. And
he had a lot of good things to say. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have any problem with his transmissions.
No, it's the risk assessment. It's not just women you have to assess the risk to. You have to assess the risk to simps and white knights and all that behavior, and that's men. We're not here to blindly back every man that walks through this door.
That's right. I mean, they could be worse than women.
Yeah, they could be worse than men, and most of the time they will be.
Yeah.
I would add to that to say, let this be a lesson to everybody listening that not only, number one, be very careful who you associate with and vet them thoroughly, because
there's some delusion out there that says that I have to accept every man that walks through the Mgtow door as a Mgtow and he can be my brother. No, he can't.
Shining's got to get going here. Shining, I really appreciate you coming on, man, and it was good talking with you, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man.
It was an absolute pleasure. Always great to speak to this esteemed company here, and a shout out to everyone in the chat room. Hopefully, we'll do this a bit more often. And just to finish off, guys, you are who you are. The company you keep. That's my last piece of that. You are the company you keep. Peace, brothers.
All right, man. Good to see you again. Thanks for coming on.
But doesn't this go back to answering the question that we asked before about is there a way to spot Mgtow? Is there a way to see Mgtow? Yes, by their character.
Absolutely. And I think we'll probably go here for another maybe 10 minutes or so, because I know we've been talking for about 3.5 hours.
Wow.
But, you know, that's the main thing that we all have to be very careful of, and let that be a lesson learned that, you know, you have to be so careful, because you don't want to get caught up yourself into some kind of investigation by the, you know, FBI or something, because, you know, you're joking around and having fun and thinking it's all good. But, you know, the people who you're talking to in these groups, I mean, we know this because we're all intelligent human beings on this panel. We're intelligent and we have common sense. And we can realize by what somebody says and the way that they speak in their messages that either they're going to be good or not good company. But unfortunately, I think either people are ignorant or they don't care, or they want to, you know, play the ego ball game and want to get famous and, you know, have everybody like their videos and whatnot. That comes at a price, especially when you're shaking hands with people that do that kind of stuff. So be careful.
Yeah.
And not only that, I mean, you also have to wonder, as Mgtow develops and as the ranks swell, and they will, and our society's encouraging it, you know, just by default, we have to worry about elements of people who might do something really grievous to others. Right now in Manhattan, 2 women had their faces slashed right this weekend. And what if that guy said, "Oh yeah, I do that because I'm Mgtow," and the media is gonna just jump on that like a cockroach. You know,
That's another thing there too, is that be careful what you tell people. I know that there's this whole thing of you know, people do want to meet like-minded individuals and share like-minded opinionated things, but there's a time and there's a place for it. You don't go into a courtroom talking about drugs, or tell that to a police officer, better yet, or whatever the case is, that some obscure thing that you shouldn't be telling people or shouldn't be mentioning. You know, you have to have situational awareness. In the military, they call that OPSEC. You have to be able to know when to say something and when not to say something. Right. And there's a time and there's a place for it. And if you're not careful, that actually, the benefit that you're trying to put across to people is actually going to end up being a detriment due to the situation that you're in. So it's all situational dependent. You have to be careful. It's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Is there any other thing anybody would want to mention here in the last minutes or so? Anything that Lazarus you want to mention? Or Traversable or Johnny?
Yeah, I wanted to say, when you look at the 3 hours of this thing and where we started from and where we went and how many questions we answered, Mgtow is a complex thing that's multi-threaded, and it's multilinguistic, and it goes on. You have to stay around Mgtow a long time before you start putting together everything there is in Mgtow. We get a lot of people jumping in, Johnny know-it-alls. They know everything about Mgtow, and they're the new guys and everything. Just relax.
Hey, my name's Johnny.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that, Johnny.
I'm just joking.
Yeah, but it takes a while, and even for guys that have been around forever like us, it took 3.5 hours to get from one point to the next point in a multi-threaded conversation to understand a lot about Mgtow.
Well, you know what? I thought this chat was great. I thought it was very much needed to be had, not just for us, the people that are in the monk subsect of Mgtow, but for other Mgtows and lurkers that want to listen in. I thought a lot of valuable information was disseminated today, and I was really happy to be part of it. This was an epic podcast. Seriously,
I'm seriously glad I got to have everybody on it. I was talking with Johnny, and like, man, I didn't expect we to have all these people on, like the caliber of individuals here, but I'm really glad that, everybody was able to make it. And I guess, on that final note, we'll wrap it up here, that I appreciate everybody, all the 50 viewers, for sticking along for the whole hours, and mainly everybody that was able to join in. I really appreciate it, and definitely we'll hope to be able to do this again sometime soon.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. And we will still be podcasting and uploading videos on Esoteric Lectures. We will be having a 2-part analysis of the film Beyond the Black Rainbow coming up. And thanks for coming in. And I want you all to have a good midnight.
With that being said, I appreciate everybody for joining, and we'll see you again soon.